I probably don't have to tell you this, but there is a lot riding on this Justice League movie. Joss Whedon and crew are still really hard at work on this thing, and we haven't heard a lot about how well that is actually going. I need to ask the inevitable question here. What happens if Justice League fails? Well, I'm gonna tell you. What is up, YouTube? It's Josh. This is the Den of Nerds. Hey, if you like comic books and other nerdy things, subscribe to this channel. We cover all that goodness. Oh, and you might want to hit that bell even if you are subscribed because, you know, YouTube. Now, getting right into this, I don't know if there has been more anticipation, dread, trepidation, all sorts of other words for a film than there has been for this Justice League movie. I mean, look, there's a lot riding on this thing. As I said in the intro, Wonder Woman was this big success, and yet they still only have Aquaman in production. I think they are really playing wait and see with Justice League, and of course, bringing on Joss Whedon, making all of these changes to the film indicates that they were not happy with what was happening with it, and that they know they need a certain product to get them to the next level of their shared universe. So I'm going to talk about what I think will happen if Justice League does fail, both critically and financially, or really just financially, because when you look at something like Batman v Superman, it was not a success at all in any way, shape, or form. And I know that's a hard pill to swallow if you're a DCEU fan, but guys, I've literally heard reports from people that this movie made less than $50 million in profit. When you add up what they spent on marketing and the actual budget for the film, I have heard that it literally made less than $50 million. Investors are the people that put money towards these films, and they're not going to continue to do that if Warner Brothers can't show the kind of success that merits that kind of an investment. But in any case, I'm going to get into what I think will happen if it fails. But real quick, I want to talk about, do I personally think it will fail? And I've got to be honest with you, I'm right down the middle on this. I can see a scenario where it's very good, where it has the best of Joss Whedon type character moments and the best of Zack Synder action, and I can see it being this miraculous thing that sets the ship right for the DC Extended Universe. And I could definitely see many scenarios on where it doesn't do anything close to that. And let me just briefly talk about what I'm worried about. I'm worried about it being more of the same. I mean, these ensemble casts that have the bringing together of the superheroes where they fight the big villain that has an army, they're getting kind of old, man. And the films that are really popping these days, even in the superhero genre, are testing the limits and starting to do things a little bit differently. I mean, you literally had Avengers. That was so 2012, right? And you bring on the director of that movie to set your shared universe up with its first Justice League ensemble movie. I mean, it just feels like it might be too much of more of the same, the flavor that we're used to, and that could definitely hurt it. I'm also worried that Joss Whedon coming in is going to cause this weird cognitive dissonance with the film, where it has half of the DNA of a Zack Synder film and half the DNA of a Joss Whedon film, and it just doesn't fit together properly. And to be honest with you, I think that is what they are spending the majority of their time on now. They're literally trying to make this thing gel, and I'm worried that it really won't. I'm also worried that at the end of the film, Steppenwolf and all of the Justice League members realize that their grandmothers all shared the same name and they stop fighting. And I'm kind of kidding there, but I'm not totally kidding. I'm worried about some goofy ass shit like that ruining the movie, in my opinion, okay? So let me get it right into what I think will happen if Justice League fails. Look, the first thing that's going to happen if Justice League fails is they are going to do that reboot with the Flashpoint movie. Now, this is just my opinion, but I think them putting the name of Flashpoint out there at San Diego Comic-Con was a very deliberate thing. And they're going to hold on to this movie. They haven't really started production on it, but I think that it's like this backup plan where if Justice League sucks and doesn't make any money, they'll introduce Flashpoint and they will do something very bold and sort of retcon a lot of the things that aren't working and hopefully get some kind of a visionary and come up with a plan of what they actually want their shared universe to look like. And I think that might be the first big thing that happens if Justice League fails, which would be kind of interesting. The next thing that I think might happen is you will get this separation of films from the DCEU. We already have been kind of hearing this where like the people working on this Joker movie are saying it might not be attached to the DCEU. There were rumors that Matt Reeves' Batman might not be attached to the DCEU. And I think that these are like tendrils of information that are coming out from meetings and reports and secondhand, witnesses and all these different things. I think basically it is on the table right now that if the brand of the DCEU is like a stinky brand and isn't very good, that they're going to continue to make DC films with these comic book characters. Well, because comic book characters are all the rage still and are really driving a lot of the revenue for the box office, but they're going to separate those films from this shared universe idea. They'll go back to what Warner Brothers originally said they were going to do, which was make filmmaker, visionary-driven films that utilize these properties. This is what they famously did with the Christopher Nolan movies while Feige and company were first putting together the MCU. So I think that's a very real possibility with films like the Shazam movie, with films like the Justice League Dark, and all of those other ancillary films. They could literally have those start to be their own things that aren't so beholden to the canon of the DCEU, which, it might work. You might not like that idea. I'm not sure how I feel about it, but I think that if I'm putting two and two together here, that is a possible change that will happen if Justice League fails. So the last thing that I think will happen if Justice League fails is we will lose Ben Affleck. Look, I can't exactly tell you why I think this. I personally think Affleck is going through some stuff. He's not super emotionally stable right now. There were reports about his alcoholism, and I'm not going to get into all of that because we're all just people and we have our shining moments. We have our, diminishing moments. We're people. But I'm just saying this. I don't think it's good for Ben Affleck to be associated with the DCEU if it's just going to suck. And that's just the bottom line. Whatever's going on in his personal life, I think it's clear that there's been some contention between him and the DCEU. Famously, we have the sad Affleck look. And here's the problem. He's a huge nerd. He has a freaking bat cave in his house, and he had that before he was ever even thought to be cast as Batman. And so I got to tell you, it's just not gonna happen. He's just not gonna stick around if this movie is a disaster. If this movie is poorly received, he's done. I'm telling you right now. This is the one thing I think on this list that is the most definitive, is that if Justice League fails, Ben Affleck is out of the DCU. And that's just kind of the way I see it. So guys, that's pretty much what I wanted to cover in this video, what I think will happen if Justice League fails. Let me know in the comment section, what do you think will happen if Justice League fails? Did I bring up any points that maybe hit home for you, made you think a little bit? Do you disagree with me completely? And do you think Justice League will fail? Please sound off in the comment section below, but be nice to each other down there. As I always say, I hope you are having an awesome and nerdy day. See ya!